Sorry that I couldn't help you on that part
No, no, no,
on the
no, no, no,
website
no, no,
thing.
no.
But
Chapter 5, Sannyasa Yoga, the Yoga of Renunciation. This is Bhagavad Gita study, and I hope everybody is happy with that. And we are reading a very interesting chapter because in in my Italian platforms that I'm developing now, many, not many, several ISKCON people are coming, and some are very confused because I present myself as a sannyasini. So I'm preparing a series of videos about that topic in Italian language, because the concept of sannyas is very confused today. We have a chief minister in India who is ostensibly a sannyasi, and we have all sorts of politicians and business people and the political people, and people who actually collect a lot of money, like for example Baba Ramdev. I don't know if he's a brahmachari, a sannyasi or anything, but he's dressing like a tyagi. And boy, if he's commercial. Anyway, so sannyasa is not about the dress. You know that in the Bhagavata Purana in the 11th canto, I think 11th canto, when there is a description of the Kali Yuga, Sukadeva explains that in Kali Yuga, just the color of the dress will, make someone a sannyasi, but that's not the point. Color of the dress is important as a fashion statement, so that people don't try to approach us with inappropriate proposals or things like that, but the color is not sufficient. Anyway, so we'll find out exactly what Krishna says about the sannyas, starting from verse 1. And of course, anytime you can interrupt to ask questions, to raise objections or whatever, is not a problem. So we have verse 1. Arjuna said, O Krishna, you have praised sannyas, which is renunciation to all actions, and then you praised yoga, which is a conscious engagement in action. Please tell me which one of these two will, without any doubt, be the best. Well, now, in the brief introduction of the chapter, I have given some references to, for example, the Sannyasa Upanishads, which are, these ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, just a good, a good bunch of Upanishads. And in the Vedic system, sannyasa is only for brahmanas, and it is not a what to say just a nominal position, but is simply a preparation for death. A sannyasi leaves everything, leaves the family, the profession, all the possessions and everything. So a sannyasi is supposed to only have one loincloth and a uttariya, in which usually he receives the bhiksha, and a kamandalu. For some time he can use a staff, means a big stick, but at some point he also has to give up that. According to the Vedic system, the Varnashrama Dharma, a sannyasi is not allowed to wear shoes, carry an umbrella, ride in vehicles. He is not allowed to teach. He is not allowed to have a fixed residence. He is not allowed to sleep inside the house. He is not allowed to travel with companions. So many things a sannyasi is not allowed to do in the Vedic Varnashram system. Then, because Adi Shankar saw that the Vedic Varnashrama system had already started to become degraded, and the Grihastha Brahmanas, who were supposed to be the gurus of society, had become unqualified for the job, Shankara created the concept of a mat. The mat is the equivalent of the Gurukula, but the head of the mat is can be also a sannyasi. In this case, he is given the title of Acharya, Swami, and Maharaj, everything, because he's not a real sannyasi according to the Vedic system. He is a totally new figure in Hinduism. But this is okay because the Varnashrama Dharma as we know it was applied towards the beginning of Kali Yuga. But for example, in Satya Yuga, there is no Varnashrama Dharma. The Varnashrama Dharma only has one Varna and one ashram because everybody is a Paramahamsa. And they are Paramahamsa all their life. So, there's no sannyasa there. But at the end of Dwapara Yuga, when Krishna was talking about the Bhagavad Gita on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, there was a need to distinguish the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras, and Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasi. So, this sannyas that Arjuna is talking about is a traditional sannyas, by which someone really gives up everything and just focuses on the Atman Brahman in preparation for death. But because Kali Yuga is coming, Krishna has some broader idea. We'll see in the second verse. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Lord said, both these paths, the sannyasa or renunciation and the karma yoga, yoga of action, will bring the best benefit. But the karma yoga, or the yoga of action, is better than the karma sannyasa, which is the renunciation to action. So, renunciation by itself is not helping. Verse 3. It should be known that the real sannyasi, who remains in permanent renunciation, does not hate, not aspires to anything. And because he is certainly always free from duality, Almighty Arna Arjuna, such a person becomes completely liberated from all ties very easily. Now, there have been people, especially in these last decades, who believe that taking sannyas means they hate women. They hate family life, they hate, whatever, sense gratification, and grihastha people, married people, they hate everything, so they don't want to, they despise them. This is not the real sannyasi. The real sannyasi does not hate nor aspires to anything, because he's certainly always free from duality. So he doesn't see duality between men and women, for example. He doesn't see duality between rich and poor, white, black, brown, yellow, red, or whatever color of people. No, because he's free from duality. Why someone who sees men and women as same can be a sannyasi or a brahmachari? Because the sexual involvement is precisely based on the identification with the body. So someone who sees duality between men and women, of course there will be a tendency to engage in these activities. Children who don't see the difference between boy and girl, they don't have problems of that type. So if someone wants to become a sannyasi because they hate women, or they want to give up something that they believe is, something that men are entitled to, we have a problem. These people are not going to hold much water. But anyway, we all learn, lifetime after lifetime. So we have verse 4. Only childish people, and not panditas, speak of Sankhya and Yoga as two different paths. In fact, one who is firmly situated on either of these attains the final purpose of both. Okay, so now Krishna is jumping not only from the sannyasa yoga and the karma yoga and the karma sannyasa. He's also jumping on the Sankhya and the yoga in general, which should make us understand that all the forms, all the perspectives on reality, on the tattva, are actually complementary. They have to be, they're all true. It's just a perspective, because a perspective is a limited vision. A perspective is what we see of the object from a particular position in space. So that's limited. By definition, a perspective is something that is limited. Now, this was clear to Krishna, and Krishna made it clear to Arjuna, but gradually, starting from the Middle Ages, the influence of non-Vedic ideologies, specifically the Abrahamic-oriented ideologies, introduced the idea that one needs to choose a perspective, and that perspective must be the absolute truth. So the other perspectives are different, are not compatible, not complementary, they are different, and they go to another direction. They are wrong. Abrahamics say, my perspective is the absolute truth, your perspective is wrong by definition, because only my perspective can be the absolute truth. So with the weakening of Abrahamic influence in the West, with the Renaissance and the Age of Enlightenment and whatnot, people started to leave the Christian influence, but still the idea of different realities contradicting each other remained. So if someone goes to study what they call philosophy in mainstream universities, we can say Western universities, but in India it's the same. They study philosophy in the same way. So they study what they call philosophy, which is actually not philosophy, because philosophy means, from the Greek, means love for knowledge. What the universities teach as philosophy is the history of the mental speculations and fabrications of a number of people who are considered philosophers. Kant versus Schopenhauer versus Descartes versus, I don't know, someone else, Jean-Paul Sartre. And people are required to pick a school. When you go to study philosophy, you want to become a philosopher. Either you start your own school, or you have to hook to a previous school. So you need to follow whatever the school teaches, no matter how stupid it is. So this idea started to percolate, from the early Christianity developing in the West and percolating into India, into Bharat. And what happened is that after Adi Shankar, who spoke about Advaita, there were a number of acharyas who started their own mata system. I believe the first one was Ramanuja. Then Madhva came along. And the other, they are considered traditional schools, especially of Vaishnava acharyas, are much more confused. Because Ramanandi was an offshoot of the Ramanuja, and then Nimbarka, nobody knows when he lived, and Vishnu Swamis, there were a number of Vishnu Swamis, and nobody seems to agree on exactly when they lived, and they more or less disappeared. Ramanuja and Ramanandi Mata have become prominent because they were nearer to the original Shankaracharya Mat, in that they, for example, they also adopted the Dasanam, the idea of the philosophical sannyasis and the militant sannyasis. The militant sannyasis are those belonging to what we call akhadas. The akhadas were for the militant sannyasis, or the Nagababas, for example, the old Vairagis, and who were trained to defend the temples and the pilgrimage places. So it's very similar to what Adi Shankar did. But then colonial Indology started to classify the different darshanas and different sampradayas in the same mentality of the Western universities regarding the history of philosophy. So now people think that there are different sampradayas who oppose each other, which is, not the purpose of the darshanas. The darshanas are supposed to give us a comprehensive, multi-dimensional view of reality. So if we think that we need to belong to one specific sampradaya or school or, darshana, rather than any other, and we just reject the others, we are not following the Bhagavad Gita. Because Bhagavad Gita is talking first of sannyasa, karma sannyasa yoga, karma yoga. Then here speaks of Sankhya and yoga, all the types of yoga. So it's just one. He says that only childish people, and not panditas, speak of all these different perspectives as different paths. In fact, they're the same path, only with different approaches. The same direction, but with different approaches. So verse 5, it's saying the same purpose, position or place, which is sthanam. Sthanam means position, but means also place, and means purpose in the sense of the goal to be attained, position to be attained. So the same position that is attained through Sankhya is also attained through yoga. One who sees Sankhya and yoga as the same, one thing, is really seeing correctly. So Krishna is extremely clear on this point. If we cannot understand, this is so clear, so explicit. If we cannot understand, it means we have some, cognitive dissonance, and we need to see why that happens. Then we have the verse 6. He says, O my dear Arjuna, sannyasa, or renunciation, without yoga, proper engagement, only produces misery. Or it is attained with difficulties. With difficulty means dukkham. Dukkham means suffering, but also means difficulty, obstacle. Lot of too much effort, stress. Dukkham also means stress. Like suffering, displeasure, stress, pain. Okay, so sannyasa without yoga only produces misery. One who is engaged in yoga is a muni and quickly attains Brahman. Now, a muni means Munir Brahma. The muni is someone who is observing the vow of Mauna, which is silence. Silence means the silence of the mind. Not that one is not able to think, but the mind is peaceful, steady, properly focusing without being disturbed by the wind, of the blowing this way and that way. This is called nirvana. So a muni is someone who is silent regarding irrelevant things. So when we sit in meditation, the mind comes up to us with a lot of things, so lots of ideas, even very weird ideas sometimes, So what we do, it's very easy. We decide not to engage. So we tell the mind, okay, I got it, I see what you are bringing me, but I'm not interested now. Just put it down, Now we are focusing on something more important. This is muni in the mind. Like recently I was doing some research for a video, and the algorithm realized that I was looking for actual sadhus and sannyasis. So I stumbled on one very short interview by Swami Chinmayananda, and it is very, what to say, um, you know, it looks like a clickbait because this very respected and respectable Swami sums everything up by saying, "Shut up and get out." He said, "What, Maharaj? Why, shut up and get out is very rude, no?" But he explains, shut up means make the mind shut up, because the mind is constantly chattering, constantly bringing up different things. We have to shut up the mind and concentrate on spiritual intelligence. The mind is not intelligence. The mind is a material element that is naturally running up and down everywhere. So we have to make the mind shut up, and we have to get out of the delusional idea that we are the material body and the material mind. So I actually like that interview. It's very short, but very, very effective. You have anything until now that we can elaborate on? Okay, very quiet.
Yeah, yeah. And this one, like without, it says that you have to properly engage. So
Yes.
what does this actually mean? Because in terms of the old school of sannyasa, where you explain that we were not having mutts and all, sannyasis were
Yes.
going and meditating. So that is also, that meditation is also can be called proper engagement. If so, why we need to, why Krishna need to make this a statement? Because anyways, those who are, if Arjun is trying to say that I'll run away from field and meditate on hills, so is that not engagement?
Exactly. Exactly. In fact, Krishna keeps saying, many times that one should work for the benefit of all beings. Even a sannyasi needs to do some work, but not for a professional career, not for money, not for getting anything in return. Now, if you engage in work, you engage in your work, in professional duties, in your family duties, social duties, means you're not a sannyasi because you do these things. You have family duties, professional duties, and social duties. Sannyasi doesn't have anything like that. So here, the Krishna in this chapter will explain that you can still stay and perform your family duties, professional duties, and social duties if you do that without attachment to the results, but simply as an offering, as a sacrifice, as a yajna to Brahman, to God, to Bhagavan, then you are the real sannyasi. Now, but the point is, the sannyasis who want to follow the rules of the renunciation, the people who are in the order of sannyas, means they have given up the duties, the responsibilities of family, job, and society. Still, Krishna says many times, that they have to work for the benefit of all beings. So, sannyasis are not supposed to teach, in the sense they are not supposed to take responsibility for students, but they can preach. They can teach to people without accepting students, without giving diksha to anyone. They can still be teaching people, in a detached manner. Now, the difference is that Adi Shankar said, okay, the Brahmana Grihastas are not qualified to give diksha. So let the qualified sannyasis give diksha, which is a big revolution. I became very aware of this in Puri, because Puri is the citadel, the center of Brahminical orthodoxy. And there is a big friction with the Adi Shankara teaching. So the Adi Shankara Math in Puri, which was founded by Adi Shankar is responsible for the present installation of the deities of Jagannath, because for many hundreds, if not thousands of years, the knowledge of the Jagannath worship had gone completely lost. There was no more temple. According to the calculations of the Shankaracharya Math, if I'm not mistaken by date, Adi Shankar lived about 1500 years before the current era, while the mainstream academia believes and teaches that he was around the 9th century of the present year, 800 CE of the current era. Not AD, because it's Annus Domini. Jesus Christ is not our Lord, thank you very much, so it's not our Dominus. So, CE, current era, it's okay. So, so what happened is that Adi Shankar established the present temple of Puri before the present structure. The story goes that Adi Shankara was passing by, and he was directed to Jajpur in Orissa, where Maharaj Yayati was performing so many yagyas and everything. So Jajpur is actually coming for Yagyapur. So it's a distortion of the name Yagyapur. So Yagyapuri. So he was directed to excavate the ancient deities of Jagannath from under a tree. But the deities were so damaged, of course, being buried for who knows how long, that Shankara decided to make new deities and to make a new temple in Puri. So, but still, the Shankaracharya Math, the Govardhan Pit, is only nominally respected in Puri. Nobody cares about it. The Brahmanas, there is some friction between the two, the Purva Mimamsa and the Uttara Mimamsa. But still, that friction need not be there. Because if the Brahmanas give up the ahankara and mamatva of having the monopoly to do this thing or that thing, then everything is solved. The only problems of human beings are ahankara and mamatva. If we give up that, we solve all the problems of society. Identification with the material body is the biggest problem. Anyway, so does that answer your question? I'm not sure.
Yes, partly, but this thing, like properly engaging this sense, how Arjun was wrong when, because we also say that when somebody who is meditating alone, that is also contributing to the society in a different way. That
Yeah, but okay. If someone is meditating, correctly, he will get inspired to serve Bhagavan, to serve Vishwarupa, the Virat Purusha. And the Virat Purusha is the body of all beings. So Bhagavad Gita itself is repeating so many times that one should work for the benefit of all beings. Benefit of all beings, if you're meditating and you're not getting any practical idea, on what are you meditating? Because God wants us to actually work for the benefit of all beings. So maybe you're not meditating on the right thing. Lots of people are confused about the concept of meditation. They think that meditation means relax, don't think about anything, just pull the plug out of your mind and let your mind flow into the desert and dry up. No, meditation means that we have to calm down the movement of the mind, but because we need to hold something better in our mind, which is dharana. Pratyahara means withdrawing the mind and the senses and everything from other stuff. But dharana means you focus on meditation. And when you focus on the Atman, Atman is Satchitananda. Atman is everyone. Atman is Brahman. So how can you meditate, on Atman and Brahman and not have any compassion? Because if you're just meditating, you're not helping much. Because we see the results. People, they're going to meditate and just they think that they're doing their part to support the universe, but in fact they're just becoming lazy. So they think they're in sattva, but they are actually sliding to tamas. They become lazy, they become careless, callous. But detachment doesn't mean carelessness. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. Detachment means that you are totally dedicated to the service of the Paramatma. The Paramatma is in all beings, in all everywhere. So you have to serve. Service means action. Engaging. Krishna will say nobody can exist without working, because without working you cannot even maintain your body. So if you think that a sannyasi is doing something good because he's going on top of, going in some cave and lots of people come and give him food for free and he's not doing anything, he's not giving any teaching to these people, he's not helping anyone, he's not serving, he's not working for the benefit of all beings. Actually, that sannyasi, so-called sannyasi, has become a parasite. He's not in sattva, he's in tamas. Like some people say, oh, I will only depend on Krishna, I will not give pranam to the devas. Agni, Indra, who cares, even Vishnu or Shiva, we just care for Shamasundara. Okay, so these people, they think they're being on the highest platform, but then you see them doing photo opportunities with degraded politicians to get benefits from the politicians. So they are not giving pranam to Mahadev or Agni, and they're giving pranam to Obama or Mother Teresa or the the sheikhs, the cardinal, the Catholic cardinals. Why are they giving pranam to these people? Because they are not depending only on Krishna. They are depending on what these powerful people can do for them. So this is a problem. This is why I'm saying that the sannyasi who engages in politics It's like, what?
No, but these kind of are okay. This is understandable. But those who are like, those who have reached that state, those who are Paramhansas and who are not attached to body, they are maybe in jungle living like that. Like I think we have the story of Dattatreya in Bhagavatam, right? He was living like a crazy man. So those kind of
Yes.
sannyasis who has like detached everything. So are they still like Krishna is criticizing those kind of sannyasis here or no?
It's very difficult to say because we don't see what's in their mind. We can be very positive persons, ready to see the good in everyone, which is, a good quality. But, if we see someone behaving crazy, uh, it's not necessarily that that person is in the highest level of, spiritual ecstasy and he got everything right. Might just be crazy. We don't know. We cannot really know from observing from the outside. In fact, I think there is a Bengali proverb about that it's very difficult to understand who is a real sadhu because you cannot say, but the real sadhu must be compassionate because without compassion, we are not connected to Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan because Bhagavan himself takes avatar to help the people out of compassion. So, are we saying that we are better than Bhagavan because Bhagavan is attached materially to work, and we don't do anything? We cannot say that. So maybe a sadhu that you see, holed up in a cave on the Himalayas, now the Himalayas are just a tourist spot, and people of all types go coming and going. But even if there was a yogi, a sadhu who was, he's meditating in a cave where nobody can reach there. If he's really having a positive impact on the planet, nobody can say. You cannot say that automatically he is concentrated, he's actually doing something good for the people. Maybe he's just abstaining from doing stupid things, which, okay, but you can do better than that. And this is what Krishna is saying, Sannyasa, renunciation, without proper engagement produces misery. So, what you do with your mind alone in a cave day and night for 7 years? That's interesting. That's why it's okay to try and verify what are the actual realizations of these people because some people may be very advanced, and then we are giving by going to verify, we're giving them the opportunity to do more for human society, by sharing their realizations. So, the answer to your question, it's not really possible to say, because some of these people might be really siddhas, who inspire in general all the whole, consciousness powerfully, the sum total of the consciousness of the people. But maybe not, because in Kali Yuga it's not so easy to do, big things just with the mind. The yoga siddhis are not very, very common, When someone is sitting in a cave on top of somewhere, never doing anything, never doing any work, any preaching, any teaching, anything, if he is able to influence the minds of the entire population from their place there on top of the mountain, that means he must have some siddhis. Because this is the definition. Ishitva siddhi, and Vashikaram siddhi is controlling, controlling people, right? That is one of the Ashtasiddhis of yoga. But how they can control people? Maybe they are. Maybe they're just thinking they are, and they're not giving any good influence to anyone. Lots of people who have mistaken ideas. They convince themselves of very weird things which have no actual basis in facts and truth. So lots of people, for example, in the Christian culture groups, they think that they are inspired by God or possessed by demons, while they're just expressing what is in their own minds. So, okay, it's not a bad thing. But this doesn't mean that we need to go, to these yogis on the Himalayas and drag them out of the cave and say, "You lazy bum, go and do some work, get a job." That's not what we need to do. We need to engage ourselves in sannyasa within yoga. Now we see what is the sannyasa within yoga. So we can go and see the next verses. Is that helping?
Yes.
Okay, good. Any other question, elaboration?
No, that's
Okay.
it. You
So,
can move on.
verse 7. A person who has purified himself or herself through the engagement in yoga, conquering the self and controlling the senses, considers himself or herself as the Atman, that is the same Atman or existence of all living entities. Atman, Bhuta Atma. So the same Bhuta Atma is difficult to translate because it's the Atman of all living entities or the existence of all living entities. The Atman is existence, basically. Brahman is existence. Sat. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Okay. So, Krishna says, although engaged in activities, he is never affected by them. So, this means the same Atman of everyone means you give up your ahankara and namatva. You're just Atman. Just consider yourself as Atman and you behave like Atman. Verse 8. One who is a yogi thinks, or should think, I am not the doer of anything. Doer. Kinchit karomi. Naiva kinchit karomi. I am not doing anything. Well, this means no ahankar. One who knows the truth engages in the activities of seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, going, dreaming, breathing, talking, leaving, abandoning, accepting, taking, opening and closing one eyes. But he meditates that the senses should naturally be engaged in the sense objects and does not identify with them. This is also another very interesting verse because, of course, we need to keep all our activities of our senses on the platform of sattva, and we should keep always a very clear awareness of the real identity, which is the Atman. We are the Atman. If we do that, if our engagement, the engagement of our body and senses, will be on the liberated level, because we are not selfish. We don't have ahankara mamatva anymore. We just do things because, we are here for a purpose. We are on this world with a mission, and the mission is to serve the mission of God, which is paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya duskritam dharma samstapanat. This is our purpose of life. And in the process, we become more and more aware of our real identity as Atman, so that this is how we develop and become liberated. So we didn't come, we are not here in this world to be holed up in a cave and not doing anything. Because what's the point? You can do nothing somewhere else. You want to do nothing, you can be a ghost. A ghost doesn't do anything. Why you need a body? You don't need a body. So if you have a body, use it properly. By serving all beings, by serving God in the form of all beings. So he meditates that the senses should naturally be engaged in the sense objects. Of course, again, by choosing the sense objects and the type of interaction very carefully. Indriyani indriyarteshu. So there is also another famous quote that is saying, Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. This means that, serving God with one's senses is actually the bhakti. Someone who is, we have jumped a few verses. Okay, here. Someone who is not engaging in any activity, in any devotional service, is not developing any bhakti. He's just sitting and meditating on what? It would be very nice. We go and meet these sadhus, these sannyasis, in their cave and say, Babaji, Swamiji, whatever ji, what is the object of your meditation? That's a totally legitimate question. From their answer, you'll find out if they're actually doing something to, reciprocate for the air they breathe or not. Maybe they're not. Maybe they are. Maybe they're giving more. We don't know. We have to ask them. Okay. So we can go on to verse 10 if you don't have particular questions. Any other?
Yeah, we can.
Huh?
No, we can move.
We can move on. Okay. So verse 10. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Adhaya. Brahmani adhaya karmani. Brahmani adhaya means surrendering, means connecting, dovetailing all activities to the Brahman. Brahmani adhaya karmani, all the activities. Sangam tyaktva karotiya, giving up all identification and association, material association. Sangha tyaktva. One is never affected by the negative consequences of bad actions. just like a lotus leaf is never affected by water. The association must be spiritual, liberated, or better not to have any association. Like Krishna says twice in Bhagavad Gita that one should live alone in an isolated place, which is, we can understand, because especially when we live among, conditioned people, people who don't have much realization and not very evolved, it's very difficult to meditate. It's very difficult to remain detached. So better to be a little alone, if possible. But that doesn't mean that you are not working for the benefit of all beings. We need to do that. Okay, let's go on, because Krishna will repeat it several times. So, verse 11. The yogis perform activities with their body, mind, intelligence, and senses only, and purify themselves by giving up identification, association, and attachment. So, you can definitely, the yogis and sannyasis can definitely use the body and senses and everything, but Kevalai means that they know they are only engaging material body in material work that is necessary for the strict maintenance of the body. So, kayena manasa buddhya kevalai indriyair api yogina karma kurvanti sangha tyaktvat mashuddhaya. Atma shuddhaya means for the purification of the Atman. Of course, Atman is never contaminated, but it is covered by lots of dirt. So, we go on, and verse 12. Okay. A yogi gives up the results of activity and therefore attains permanent peace. One who is not a yogi becomes tied by the results of the action that she desired to obtain through work. So this is the point. We can, like Krishna says, karma niyama adhikaraste ma phale sukadachana. We have the adhikar to do our duty, but not to enjoy, to get to the, we don't have the right to the result of our actions. The result of our action will come. But that's not why we work. If we work sincerely without selfishness, we'll also get benefit. But we get double benefits. We get the good karma and the liberation, which is double bonus. Okay. Okay, so let's go on. And 13. One who has constantly renounced to all the various actions in his mind remains in happiness in the city of the 9 gates, that is his body. He doesn't he doesn't do anything, nor causes anything to be done. Sarva karmani manasa sannyasaste sukham vasi namadvara pure dehi naiva kurvana karayan. Kurvana karayan. Okay, he doesn't do like Nakarayan, doesn't cause anything to be done. Nakarman, while doing. Okay, it doesn't cause it doesn't cause the result of the action, because the result of the action is conducted by material nature only. Ahankarami mudhatma kartaham iti manyate. So whatever action we do, it's actually just an illusion thinking that we are doing it. It's we can at most keep the consciousness, keep the awareness. Then the material nature, the body, the mind, the senses will do the job. So verse 14. The master of the city of the nine gates, which is the body, the nine gates are the gates of the body, does not create the idea of being the cause of the action performed by other people. So other people do make their choices, do whatever they want. Doesn't concern us. Okay. Thus, he is not engaged by the result of activities. It is only his nature that acts. Nature means Buddha, karma, and body and mind, which is all material nature. All the 8 elements of nature, the 5 gross and the 3 subtle. It's not us. It's not the Atman. So we don't identify. So we are not attached. So we are not affected. Whatever happens, it happens to the body, not to us. Okay. Of course, that doesn't mean that we need to, we must be stupid and let, do all sorts of bad things, because anyway, it's our body that will suffer, not us. This is not the right interpretation of Krishna's teaching. Okay, verse 18. The all-powerful Lord does not accept or consider the merits or the merits of anyone. It is the problem. The problem is only due to the living entities that are confused because their knowledge is covered by ignorance. This is, I think, a very interesting and very important verse, because nadate doesn't consider, doesn't accept. Kasyachit, anyone. Papam. Na chaiva sukritam bibhu. God doesn't care what we do. He's not bothered. Many people think that God wants to be worshipped. God wants to be obeyed. God wants to be appeased. So God has some special favorites, the chosen people, the special favorites by, the particular group of devotees. No, that's not the case. God doesn't care what we do. If we worship, if we not worship, Krishna is never saying that you must worship me, He say, well, if you want to become my devotee, you worship me and, you will remember me. That's the idea. It's not that God needs worship, but he says that by worshiping God, we develop a divine consciousness, so we become like God. We develop the divine consciousness, which is good for us. When we worship God, we are not, doing God a favor. We are just, we are just doing a favor to ourselves. I don't know, is that clear? Does it help?
Yes.
Good. So, what do you think? Should we stop here for today?
Yeah, we can stop. Oh, okay,
Okay.
20.
Yeah, we'll do again next time, but I think we shouldn't get too late. So thank you very much for helping by participating to the study group, which is not exactly a group, but it's okay. It's a study session. And we'll see you next time, from verse
Yeah.
13.